Okay, today this video is going to be about this book right here. Police, Unions, Power, Politics, and Confrontations in the 21st Century. All right, now I'm going to do a couple chapters, because I think we need to really understand what this is. Okay. And in this book, it's chapter 7. See it? Okay. It says map out where the Union is headed with a strategic plan. Our first book included a chapter on strategic planning inspired by Boston University Professor David Weil. Dr. Weil developed an excellent template of questions that every union leadership should periodically ask if it wants to stay ahead of the game. These questions focus on the environment, the union's political and community strength, organizational priorities, the union's resources, in particular finances that become especially significant if there is a contract fight brewing, and organizational structures such as governance and communications. Strategic planning really does work. When we wrote our first book, the chapter on strategic planning was thrown in as an afterthought because strategic plans were a trendy thing 10 years ago. Today, we can say with conviction that the template of questions really does work and has been used by police unions as a tremendous form of self-analysis and pathway to improve business methods. Some of the groups that the authors have worked with in recent years includes the San Antonio Police Officers Association, El Paso Municipal Police Officers Association, West Virginia Troopers Association, Tucson Police Officers Association, Henderson Police Officers Association, and Rio Rancho, New Mexico Department of Public Safety Association. There was a commonality to the initial analysis that these unions made in their respective strategic planning sessions. Relationship with community organizations and leaders were generally seen as limited and weak, a problem that faces most police unions. The universal bane of the police labor movement, membership participation, was seen as a big issue among the leaders of these groups as well. In all of these organizations, the leadership took some steps to correct identified problems, some with more success than others. When and then look, it says do's and don'ts of a strategic planning session. When your union leadership agrees to establish a strategic plan, some initial thought and preparation can make the final outcome more beneficial than if a meeting is simply slapped together at the last minute. Here are some suggestions that will make for a more productive planning session. Depending on the structure of your union, the size of the group should be small, either executive board or in a larger organization, or board of directors in a smaller one. Make the meeting a special event and not a part of some other regularly called meeting or backed up to another meeting. Otherwise, the importance of the exercise will be lost. Depending on the amount of participation and serious dialogue, the exercise can take as little as 3 hours, as long as 8 hours. Arrange a location that will provide a comfortable setting that is away from the hustle and bustle of the union office so that participants can reflect without interference. Insist that all electronic gadgetry, cell phones, Blackberries, email usage, and other similar toys are checked at the door and not used during the session. Designate a good note taker who will compile a record of the session and complete a written synopsis that will be used to track the future progress of the plan. Assign special tasks and responsibility as each point is discussed. For example, if the participants agree that the union's two messages for the next year will be that crime has become a serious threat to the community and staffing levels are dangerously low, then someone should be assigned to gather backup statistical data on crime rates, response times, population growth, national and local area agency staffing comparisons, and other relevant information that can be used in support of those messages. A timeline should be set for completion of the assignment. There is no point to a strategic plan if there's no follow through. When union board members meet to establish a oh, I hate this word. To establish a strategic plan, there is a great deal of creativity that can come out of such a meeting. For example, the leadership can decide that each board member is going to join a key community civic organization. The political action committee contributions are going to be doubled, and this year's priority are going to be improvement of the legal representation plan, the purchase of property on which to start construction of a building, and hiring an editor for the newsletter. These priorities are all commendable, but just remember the old adage that the road to hell is paved with good intentions. It is very easy for the leadership to talk about all the great things they are going to do, but talk is cheap. It is altogether a different story when leaders have to go out and actually try to accomplish these goals. Once a plan is set out by the leadership, it is vital that there is followed through. Periodically, meetings where leaders discuss what specifically has been done to achieve the strategic planning goals. It will be clear very quickly after a few of these meetings whether leadership is truly committed to the goals or instead has been engaged in all talk and no action. So that's chapter 7, right? So let's go to the skip real quick. And okay, now chapter 11. Building community coalitions. Okay. The building of community coalition places as close second to membership mobilization is in issues that plague police union. Union leaders generally understand and seek to deal with the membership problem. But anytime that the authors speak to public union leaders about building coalitions with community leaders and organizations, their eyes glare over and their minds wander. There is a general elitist, us against the world mentality among police officers that carries over into union leadership. Anytime there is a conflict with the city, the union leadership circles the wagons and fights the good fight without help from anyone. This course of action is short sighted at best and at worst a prescription for disaster. Think about any majority issue facing the police union today, such as staffing or pay, and benefit disparity that affects recruitment and retention. Police officers are not the only stakeholders in these issues. Citizens have a concern about the delivery and quality of public safety services. It therefore makes a great deal of sense to convince citizens that the union is on the right side of the issue and then involve them in the public debate. It changes the debate from a police union issue to an inclusive community issue, giving the outcome a better chance for success. There is a Southwestern police union in a mid sized city that has enjoyed collective bargaining right since the early 70s. The demographics of this city are approximately 60% black and 40% white. The leadership of this union, all white police officers, have over the years followed a consensus policy of avoiding any dialogue with black community leaders and organizations, viewing them with suspicion and disdain. Think about the folly of this position. Whenever the police unions become embroiled in a conflict with the city over a pay raise or any other concern, 60% of the community has, at least from the union's point of view, been excluded from the debate. The biggest mistake police unions make when they finally get around to asking for community search. Now let's go back to the us against the world attitude. Police unions will go for the longest time without seeking out help, then suddenly become embroiled in a nasty fight with the city and decide that it's finally time to go to various community groups and leaders to enlist their assistance. The first reaction among those being sought out for help is, "Who the hell are you?" Or, "Why haven't you come around to talk with us before now?" Like any friendship, community coalition partners have to be cultivated. Showing up to ask for help on the eve of a major conflict appears manipulative and self serving. Let's say that a community environmental organization supported your drive for a big pay raise a few months ago. Now, the leader of that organization seeks your union out to help in a fight with developers over building residential homes too close to a hike or bike greenbelt area. Unless those developers are also good long-term coalition partners, it would be strongly advisable to support the environmental group. You get help, you give help. How do you go about developing community coalitions? The development of community coalitions, community organization, and leadership alliances is a long term, in fact, a never ending process. When your union leadership sits down to discuss a strategic plan, identifying identify the organization and leaders with whom you have built or could build coalitions. This list could include business leaders, political activists, office holders, labor unions, minority organizations, neighborhood associations, or specific issue groups like MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Drivers. The list of potential allies is virtually endless. Coalitions can be long term or they can be temporary. Temporary alliances often arise when voter initiatives come up over subjects like single member districts or tax reductions. For example, many local chambers of commerce are noted for their opposition to police union initiatives. So the chamber might not be on your friends of the unions list. However, a tax activist organization that is proposing a voter referendum on the reduction of a garbage fee that has been used for public safety costs might result in a temporary alliance between the union and the chamber, both of whom would have an interest in seeing the referendum defeated. A note for all of you readers who are tax slashing radicals: Remember that your pay raises come from those taxes that you despise so much. Here's another example. In 2007, a suburban police union in the Southwest joined with the local Chamber of Commerce to pass a bond issue to build a new stadium for the Metropolitan NFL team, and the Chamber of Commerce later endorsed a sales tax increase to add more police officers. Police unions frequently overlook some organizations that have the potential of development as long term coalition partners. Local labor unions and AFL CIO central labor councils are a great source of friendship development because these organizations are fighting the same workplace issues as police unions. These are some obvious obstacles, such as the lack of affiliation by the police union and the AFL CIO, or political differences. However, nothing should preclude the police union leader from keeping the lines of communication open with other local labor officials and giving and asking for help. Another untapped source of coalition partners is minority organization and leaders. Police union officials have traditionally been reluctant to pursue these partners due to obstacles such as charges of police brutality and differences over civilian review. However, think about the important point. Citizens in minority community want and expect good police service like anyone else, and are willing to have a dialogue about how this service can be achieved. This need should be the basis for a long-term relationship, and a commitment is if a commitment is made by the police union leadership to make the effort. 2005 Austin Police Association Civilian Review Board fight. The Austin, Texas Police Officers Association had a running battle in the mid 2000s with some elements of the minority community. The American Civil Liberties Union (ACLU), City Council, and Austin American Statesman newspaper over demands for a civilian review board. This ongoing battle is an excellent example of how a police union can develop relationship with community organizations and leaders in a high profile fight. After a series of serious police citizen incidents, the city of Austin and the APA agreed to a police monitor system. However, some minority activists and the ACLU and the newspaper continued to press for a full civilian review board. The culmination of the fight came when the newspaper printed a series of articles that manipulated traffic stop statistics, trying to show that often police officers target minorities. The APA began a campaign called Whose Side Are You On, which included radio and television ad, and also enlisted the support of community groups, all directed at making the city council continue the police monitor system and not cave in to political pressure from vocal activists in the newspaper. A list of organizations and citizens that came to the support of the APA was impressive. Local and national labor unions, other law enforcement unions, businessmen and women, municipal and state political leaders, radio personalities, and even several minority community leaders. All of these groups and citizens were present at a major rally where more than 1,000 people came, sending the city council a powerful message that the current police monitor system should stay in place. And the council did the right thing and decided to continue the monitor program. When you start making new friends, make sure to educate your members. The old adage that politics makes for strange bedfellows has a great deal of application to the subject of coalition building, especially in the case of temporarily alliances based on a specific issue. There are times when your union might become aligned with an organization or community leader that will raise the collective eyebrows of your membership and the powers that be. Police unions have made more coalitions with such organizations such as ACLU and the NAACP, churches and ministries liberal politicians, Project Acorn, student activists, and so on. Remember that us versus them view many of you Remember that us versus them view many of your members hold. Unless they are prepared for these kind of odd political relationships, there will be considerable blowback from the membership that mistrust any kinds of dealings with those kinds of people. The answer is to prepare your members for your coalition decisions with the new communication systems that you have undoubtedly adopted by reading Chapter 9. Clearly explain to your members that the issue, why you need help from organization A or B, and what the benefits of the coalition means to the members. It would also be helpful to invite a representative of the coalition organization to a membership meeting to participate in a website meeting as discussed in Chapter 9. Establish a coalition based database. Your union office should establish a database that contains contact information for all of the community organizations and leaders that you have determined to be actual or potential coalition partners. This database should be used for sending publication and contact letters or telephone calls and should be constantly updated. Coalition relationships come and go. An organization or leader that is your friend today could very well be your adversary tomorrow. That is why these relationships should be periodically reevaluated by the leadership to determine who your friends are.